Hi, everybody.
Oh, wait, well, I'm not ready.
Show.
What? No, what? Ah!
Right. So, Aaron.
Yeah. Yes, Boat.
It's time for another. It's time for another cocktail surprise.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So this time, hopefully, we'll have something a little bit better than my failed attempt at a Cosmopolitan.
Back in the day,
we are going to try to construct an original margarita.
Okay, so now there you're talking
now
language.
I'm sure you've had plenty of margaritas that were made from margarita mix.
That's
right.
Absolutely true. Yes.
When was the last time you had a margarita that was made from scratch?
That was and it was in old Mexico, sir. I was down there.
Yeah.
With my people.
This is instead of Cointreau, we're gonna have some Grand Gala.
See, the last time the Grand Gala made an appearance, I didn't go too good.
Hopefully, it'll be better this time.
It can't be worse.
Okay. And some tequila.
Yes. What we got here?
Yep, and that's the
this
good
is
stuff.
That good
right
stuff,
there.
yes.
Yeah. Patron.
Silver Patron. I can't do a Mexican accent to save my life.
I'm very surprised to hear that.
Real? Well, I can't tell if you're being a smartass or not. People don't realize this is like the 5th take, and we've had 20 of these.
It's like
We're
that.
Blitzed out.
It's that I Love Lucy episode. You know?
We have to practice the pre-show by just multiple boozes. Oh no!
Just a little splash.
That's not a little splash, Boat. I don't like where this is going.
All right.
Isn't this exactly like the thing you fixed at one time?
It does
except you just added one different booze.
It does seem odd that all these ingredients are kind of
I'm just looking at this huge... He's got a huge pile of booze.
Now
You've got 3 things of Grey Goose, and yet you're using the same booze.
You just got to shake it real well. Okay.
Real well. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for a good drink. It's been a long day. It looks rather milky brown.
Well, that's what margaritas are supposed to look like.
Here's looking up your old address. Not bad.
It's definitely better.
Not bad. Not bad. What's this called again?
It's called a margarita.
That's a margarita. Well, I wouldn't have guessed. That's not what I would have guessed it as, but it's something.
You know, it tastes margarita-ish.
Yeah.
Just missing the salt.
That's true. And a big pile of freaking nacho chips right there. That'd be sweet, wouldn't it? How's it going, man?
Let's just go to Rio Grande right now.
See you later. It's a good way to start the pre-show.
Yeah.
You get off work, roll in, some sucker mixes me a drink. I keep telling Teresa, I'm like, listen, I told her when she first moved in, I said, here's what I expect. I want a household like the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
I come home, I've had a long day, I'm tired. I want your ass at the door. I want you to be holding a shaker and a cup and my slippers, and that's what I want to come. I'm going to cruise in, and she did that one day, and it was great, and it's never happened
again. Well, I roll into an empty house 100% of the time,
well,
so at least you've got somebody to come home to.
That's true.
Yeah, Eep's schedule is she gets home late at night.
She's a working machine.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So we thought we discussed this briefly before we started recording. We thought we'd discuss some upcoming show ideas with you all today. Our lovely Patreon subscribers. We oftentimes...
The brain trust, if you will.
Yeah, we oftentimes have no idea what we're doing on the show.
And even during the show, often.
And so we thought that we'd bring you a little behind-the-scenes show planning.
You notice when we do this when we're not on live stream. It makes it better.
Yeah.
Because really, they have no voice in the situation. So I'm pretty sure the Patreon said they want us to do this.
That's right. That's right.
So I know you had several radical ideas. So let me go ahead and roll. Because I'm a traditionalist, as you know. Let's hear some of your ideas here.
Okay. Well, one of the ideas that we are going to do for the future...
It's in.
Yeah.
No discussion.
It's in. Is we're going to do some Amiga to console port comparisons.
I like Amiga versus the world.
Sure. Amiga versus the world. And we talk about the Amiga version of a game, and then we compare it to the other ports.
Like I'm thinking a Sega CD. I'm thinking there's some TurboGrafx action in there. I'm thinking some Genesis.
A lot of Genesis.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. I'm down with the clown on that one.
And so we're currently looking for a solution right now on, if you've ever watched a Friday Night Free-for-All, I go through a bunch of different games, and I'm able to switch between platforms very quickly because of the magnificent front end, the coin ops. Is that what it's called, coin ops?
That's right. Brittany Pears, the mad genius.
Yeah,
he's a crazy guy, but he's got a darn good front end. That's for sure.
And I'm looking for something similar to that on the PC, where I can easily switch between consoles, because switching between games is not a big deal, but switching between consoles without having to back out to a menu and go to another menu is something that I really want to be able to do.
I may currently be working on a Raspberry Pi fueled solution for that problem.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yes.
So that is the first idea. The second idea is a bit more radical.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking about, once we reach episode 100,
the big one,
which I believe will make us officially the longest running Amiga podcast in the history of the world.
I mean, exclusively Amiga?
Yeah.
What about the Retro Hour? They do other stuff.
I don't even know why you brought them up, because they're not exclusively Amiga.
I know, but they do a lot of Amiga stuff. What about how many exclusive Amiga podcasts? We may be the longest running one now. What are the other ones? Name some other exclusive Amiga podcasts.
Amicast.
But they haven't had. They started after we did, didn't they?
No.
How long have they been around?
I don't know, but they were here before we were. There's the one that we couldn't find.
Those guys weren't around for 20 episodes. I don't think they weren't around that long.
So tell me why you're arguing with me.
I'm not. We're awesome and great.
Thank you.
It's just when you say it like that, it's bizarre to me. It's like, man, because I'm like, why am I not listening to these other podcasts?
100 is it's a big number.
We've had too much to drink,
and sometimes,
that's why we're arguing.
After a big number, it's time for a change.
Okay.
So what I'm proposing is that we keep the Amigos podcast going.
Damn straight.
But we make it a bi-weekly episode. And on the off weeks, we dip in to other classic computing stuff that doesn't get the time that it deserves. I'm talking about Coco. I'm talking about MSX80. I'm talking about the Sharp 68,000.
We don't have one of those, but yeah. What was the other one you said before that one?
The MSX.
Yeah, I'd like to have both those, by the way. Yeah.
I'm talking about the Commodore 16. What's going on that? So
not much recently, I'd wager.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is, if I may, you're wanting to leave the nest and try entire different system.
Entirely different systems. I think after episode 100, we'll be able to have Amiga software until the end of time.
I mean,
we'll never run out of Amiga games. But after the 100th episode, I think that we'll have covered a majority of the most well-loved games on the platform that fall within the parameters that we've set for ourselves as the podcast. For example, we don't do a lot of adventure games. We don't do a lot of hardcore simulation.
That's true.
Apart from those,
it's hard to do this in a week.
Yeah, apart from those categories, I think that we'll have covered the majority of the most popular games for the system. Your thoughts, sir?
It's tough. It's tough for me to say. The truth of the matter is, when you branch out to another system, you're not the Amigos. It's a whole other thing at that point. It's hard to wrap my head around doing other machines. I can see why you'd want to do it. I can see why people have asked for it. I don't know how well it would be received, to be completely honest with you.
Why don't take the audience out? Pretend like the audience doesn't matter. How do you feel personally?
I could keep the Amiga going for a long time. We've hit a lot of the heavy hitters, but there's still plenty of untapped. I like doing the obscure stuff. In fact, I like it more than certain, because no one's. I mean, just like the clones, the arcade ports, they're fun because they're not necessarily well known or even well received. Now that much said, you know me. I'm an old Atari 8-bit guy. I love them. I'm an old Coco guy. I'm an old PC guy. If people could accept the Amigos as a bi-weekly and then accept what we do on the off weeks on its own merit, I could probably be talked into it. If there, that's why we're sort of talking about this on the Patreon channel, on the Patreon pre-show, is because, I mean, we absolutely listen to the people that contribute because, well, I don't know what the hell I'm doing most of the time, and we just sort of drift on the lake. We get suggestions, and it helps. And this has been bandied about a little bit before, and it was it's a tough choice to try to go down that road for me. I know there are plenty of merits to it, but and it opens up a different. I mean, there are plenty of things on the Atari 8-bit. We could do it now. Granted, that's a more well-traveled path. You've got Anik and all these guys that do that stuff. I don't know how many people do just the games on Atari 8-bit, for example, or Coco. The Coco crew do Coco. They do a good job, but they don't just do games. Because I don't have any ideas. I don't want to go into
we don't need to cover productivity software.
I don't want to cover VIC-20 spreadsheets. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We do games. That's it. Now, we did do D-Paint, a few things, but
that was kind of a
iconic,
one-off, yeah. And that was something that we did.
Also, we had a guy that knew what the hell he was talking about, Will, right? So, if you have an opinion, it would actually help me. I know Boat's good to go, and some other people have talked about it. I don't want to alienate anybody. And the thing is, let me tell you, let me summarize this, because this is what makes it hard for me. When I'm listening to a podcast, I've been listening to radio shows and podcasts for as long as they've been around, forever. And the one thing I always hate to hear is like when someone changes formats, when they change hosts, when they go from once a week or once a month to once every 3 months, when the show starts being late. That's when you're screwed. And I don't want to be. I picture myself as someone listening to this show and they're thinking, "Oh, here come the Amigos." Now they're shaking it up because they're. They've lost their passion or whatever, and we haven't. That's the thing. We're still fired up, and we're really cranking it up as much as we can. But it would open some different venues because we do have the unique. We're lucky in the fact that we both have exposure, especially you being as young as you are, to these older machines, and you know more about the Atari 8-bit than I do, and I know way more about Coco than you do, for example. So there'd be some interesting interplay there if people want to hear it. I guess that's the big thing. Does anyone want to hear us talk about Coco games?
And just one thing to realize too is that the Amigos, if this new thing does happen, the Amigos will not end. It'll just go to bi-weekly instead of weekly, and you'll still be able to listen to us banter about old computer games on those off weeks.
Oh, that's not going to change. Yeah, I mean, basically, assumably the off week stuff would be exactly the same format.
The same talking format, just different games. Different platforms.
Atari 8-bit or Coco or I've got a Coleco Atom just sitting there.
Right. You've got your collection is so vast and it's so untapped that I just think it would be great if we could bring some of that stuff to light.
Yeah. So we've talked about it and we talked before this and I was like, let's talk about it on the air and see what people think. That we're not announcing our retirement. We're not closing the show down, any of that crap. So, I think about this in the way I would think about it. So, for the person out there that's just like me, that's suddenly like furrowing their brow and scratching their chin and going off this because that they're done. And we're not done, but it's just something that's been talked about. So, if you got some feedback on it, drop us a line.
Yeah.
It's an intense pre-show this week. It's not that intense because we really are down with the clown either way. But,
either way, we
still play that crap whether we do it on here or not.
That's right. That's right. Do you think
Atari ST is something I'd like to give a shot? It's something we talk about the ST every week in Spectrum.
Apple IIgs.
You don't have one.
This is not a requirement. I don't know if you've heard of this
I want you to get emulation, one. I want you to get a GS.
But it's really good.
I hate Apple. I literally hate them, but I want a GS on your table. Make it happen.
Eric Nelson, Patreon Eric Nelson, he just got a GS.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you saw his post. Do you follow him on Twitter?
I don't get on Twitter that much, but I think I may.
You're not a big Twitter guy.
I'm getting better. I'm trying to get better.
But he just got a GS. He posted some screens of this game called Funtime Arcade.
Funtime Arcade, okay.
And man, they were real high res. Showed a picture of an arcade, and it's kind of a compilation, lots of different things. But yeah, the GS is a really cool looking system for sure.
We've had a lot of fun doing this podcast, and God knows what episode we're on. I have no idea. I think we're up in the 90s or something, but we're not quitting anytime soon.
No,
it's one of the high points of my week to get together. And I will say it's and of course, thanks to the people that are listening to this, but it's been very gratifying to. I never thought I'd be. I listened to podcasts for years, and I never thought I'd be on one. And the fact that there are people listening to the podcast, and I'd hear, it's funny, I've heard this exact speech from other podcasts, people listening, but the fact that people listen and the numbers are listening, it's very gratifying. It's very kind of alarming and weird, but it's nice. And it's something I definitely don't want to go away anytime soon. And like you said, this is really the only time I get to really hang out and talk classic gaming with anybody for any length of time. So.
Right. So what's if we do decide to go this new road? What are some of the games, like if you had to pick your first 3 games, any classic computer, what 3 games would you want your first 3 to be?
Mine are 2049ers.
Atari
8-bit. I hate to go back to it, but Blue Max, another great game for the 8-bit. That just it doesn't get it. We just didn't get it. We do the C64 version, which is tremendous. I'm trying to think what else I would really want to play that you can't get. There's plenty of old PC stuff too. Like for example, we did Star Control, and we couldn't do Star Control 2, which is a tremendous game. So it would be on my list if we were going to the old PC area. The Coco has a bunch of games that really.
Now there might be a great majority of our audience that has no idea what a Coco is.
The TRS-80 color computer, or the Dragon. I think it's 32.
32, right? They had a Dragon 16 too. But
in this country, the Coco, the color computer, was distributed by Radio Shack, and it was a Tandy made computer, and it was a good little computer. It gets made fun of, but it's they're covered by a podcast called the Coco Crew, which these guys are exponentially intelligent, knowledgeable about the inner workings. I mean,
they're not us.
We talk about
they're
games,
different.
y'all.
Yeah.
We had a little thing a while back where someone asked about a review. We don't really review games. We
play them.
We pick them. We play them for a week. We throw down. I think that's. I wouldn't want to really do a formal review of a game with a number and stuff.
That's too much like work.
I'm not good enough to do that either. I don't know. I know what I like, and I like what I like. But the Coco is a good machine. I would like to get into the add-on. They had a few. I've got the one. I need to fix a tape drive. That would be kind of fun. Don't get me wrong. I've got plenty of stuff sitting around I'd like to play with. That's one of the reasons we started this too, was just to play with the Amiga. We haven't got to play with it that much. So, and the CD32 has stuff we haven't covered yet. I want to really get into. So yeah, those are the ones that come up. Blue Max. The Coco had a game called Time Bandits I really like, which actually got an Amiga port, so there's a connection there. So that's another one I'd like to do. Mega Bug. It's a fun game for the Coco that I'll always like. So, and MSX and
the Sharp X68.
The Sharp. I mean, I've only know those from emulation, but they've got some really outstanding. I'll tell you, I think it's the 6800. The X6800 has got a version. I think it's the one that's got this version of Star Wars, and that's unbelievably good. That I've played in emulation. So yeah, there are plenty of games out there. If I sat down, Hard Hat Mac comes to mind. That's another one I used to play back in the Atari days. So my neighbor had an Atari. That's why I know about him. I never actually owned an Atari computer until I got one recently. So.
Cool.
Well, what about you?
For me, it's Dallas. 100%.
Dallas. We'll have to have Brent on for that episode. My brother's favorite game, Dallas, for the Coco.
Yeah, I really want to dive deep into the Coco because that's something that I've never spent a lot of time with, and also the TI 99.
The TI. Have you ever used the TI?
Never used a TI.
I was looking at the TI the other day. Someone put a Raspberry Pi in one. A brilliant idea. The TI is the DeLorean of computers. Sleek, polished, metal. And like with black in it. It's a beautiful, sleek-looking machine. TI got pushed out of the PC market, mostly by Trammell, I think. He pretty much took care of that.
Right.
And he had a bone to grind with him. They pissed him off, and don't do that.
No.
They've got TI. I mean, honestly, the only games I put on TI that I remember are Parsec and Hunt the Wampus. Those are the only two I remember off the top of my head. So, I mean, there may be a TI market out there. May be a TI, gaming thing out there that I don't know about, but I don't remember being a whole lot out there for it.
There's a ton of TI. I've been looking. There's a whole...
Anything good is my point.
It's a very graphically impressive. I mean, it can pump out graphics better than the C64 or the Atari 8-bit.
The TI?
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Have you ever seen the Super Mario Brothers that somebody ported to it? It's pixel for pixel.
You're kidding me.
No.
Where was this when it was out?
So
it had nothing.
Well, it had nothing because there was... Well, I think that it might have had something, just not anything local. And also, I think that its true capabilities weren't ever realized.
Funny story about the TI. My best friend's mom. My best friend had a TI. And my best friend's mom was like, listen. She told my parents, she's like, listen, you got to get your kid a TI. She's like, they're on super duper sale and I get them now. And she went out and bought like 4 of them.
Wow.
I think 3 or 4. And she had them boxed in her closet. Well, what was happening was, unbeknownst to her,
they were liquidated.
They were getting the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And so you could get TIs for nothing. And for whatever reason, Mom and Dad didn't get one. I think it's because we had the Coco. So we'd already kind of went down the computer road. And the TI just went away. It fizzled big time. So... Pretty, it's got almost zero community too. I don't know any TI podcasts. I don't know a whole lot. I mean, I'm sure they have a newsletter or something.
That's exactly why I think doing this is.
Of course, if anybody wants to hear about the TI,
you'd be. There are so many people that would laugh about the Amiga in the exact same way.
Well, you might be right, bud.
So that's going to do it. It's a very contemplative pre-show this week.
Contemplative. Wow.
So
cashing in those words today.
That's right. So enjoy the show, guys.
Adios.